everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to do a little bit of a comparison across all the different sizes and variations of the Hobonichi. So if you are still kind of debating which size is right for you for this year, then keep watching, because I'm basically going to do size comparisons and kind of talk you through the layouts of all the different ones that are available and all the different kind of variations and sub-variations you can get, and hopefully that will kind of help shed a bit of light in terms of which is the right planner for you. Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty of the planners themselves, I do just want to talk about sizes, because as I've got them laid out, it's a good time to kind of compare sizes and kind of, give you that overview. So the Hobonichi has 3 variations in terms of sizing anyway. And the first one is the cousin, which is the A5 size. It only comes in A5. So if someone's referring to a cousin, they mean the A5 version. Nice and simple. The A6 version is also called the original, so if you hear somebody referring to a Hobonichi original, they mean A6. And then finally, you have the week size, which is a slim B6. And to kind of demonstrate that, I'll just put it kind of so it is effectively same size as this is a B6, take a note by the way, so just a little bit narrower. So those are the 3 sizes. In terms of thickness, the A6 and the cousin, because they effectively have the same pages, they are the same thickness and they are quite chunky. So this one is an older one, but as you can see, I've only really kind of put stickers and things in what are clearly the weekly pages, and the daily pages are blank. So it's chunkier than when it first comes, but it's not too dissimilar. And kind of if you compare that to the weeks, it's obviously a lot thinner, a lot more portable. This is the standard weeks. I will get into the weeks mega when we kind of do the deep dive on the weeks, but yeah, a standard weeks versus a full fat cousin, if you will, quite a big difference. And so yeah, if you do want something that's kind of portable, the cousin probably isn't it. What you can get in both the cousin and the A6, and this is the version actually that I have here, is an avec, and that basically has half of the year in one book. So if you do want something that you can carry around but the weeks just isn't for you, then the avec maybe for you. Ditto the day free, which I will talk about in more detail when we kind of do the deep dive, but again, I just wanted to talk about thicknesses. So if you do kind of have something in your mind in terms of I need something I can carry around, which Hobonichi is right for me, this just gives you a kind of starting off point that you're pretty much looking at these 2 versions. Although, like I say, the avec and the day free is available in the cousin, it's just obviously still an A5 size. Okay, so now let's go and do a deep dive into each of the sizes. I will try and keep this as kind of less rambly as possible, but there is quite a lot of info to go over. When it comes to the weeks, there is not a lot of choice in terms of the formats, but what you lack in that you make up for in so much choice in terms of covers and styles. So if you are wanting a planner to look a certain way, or just be a bit more of an expression, you're probably going to end up liking the weeks more than any of the others. The others you can obviously decorate, but these ones you can kind of get and use as is, and they will look beautiful. But first up, let's talk kind of functionality and the actual kind of types, I guess, of weeks. There's only 2, the standard / regular, depending on what you call it, and the mega. The standard is pretty much the same as the mega. The difference is in the notes pages. So in the standard version, you get about 70 pages of these kind of graph notes pages with the margin here. In the mega, you get 217. So if you're a person that likes to take a lot of notes, or maybe do kind of daily journaling, or want to use it as a commonplace book, then the mega is for you. Beyond that, there is no other kind of format choice with the weeks, just those 2 versions. But within that, there are a few minor ones that are more kind of cosmetic. So let's get the weeks one out of the way. So you can have a weeks that looks like this with the hardcover and the fabric, or you can have a sneaker weeks, which inside is exactly the same, but what's different is you can see kind of, it's really hard to tell, but the cover on the weeks overlaps, or kind of overhangs rather, the pages. On the sneaker, that doesn't happen. It's a soft cover, it's a cardboard cover, and it literally meets the edges of the pages. So it doesn't fit any of the cover on covers, but the idea is that it's a very soft, flexible planner notebook that you can kind of shove in your back pocket, shove in your bag, and not have to worry. And so yeah, it's not something I've ever needed or wanted, so it's one that I sadly don't have to show you. But what I do have is a soft cover in the kind of standard regular weeks, which is called the White Lines range. It's kind of a leatherette cover, and it was my first Hobonichi, and I hated it. There's just something about this soft cover that I did not get on well with. Normally I'm fine kind of with soft covers, but this, it didn't lay flat ever. It took some work, and yeah, I just was not a fan, and I'm not a big fan sometimes of kind of PU leather or whatever it's called anyway. So yeah, not for me. But if, like with the sneaker, if you need something that you can just throw in a bag and, you know, it'll bend and fold and, you know, not get damaged, White Lines is probably for you. Then beyond that, it's just absolutely loads of cover choices. So like I say, standard fabric version, it's kind of a, I don't even know how you would describe that, but yeah, it's fabric. It's, as you can see, this is 2019 and it's kept very well. There is then kind of a higher quality version, which is still fabric, but hopefully on camera you can kind of see it as a slightly different fabric. And these are just designs that refresh every year, and they're usually pretty cool, pretty funky, and they'll have kind of certain little like Easter eggs. So not every planner will look the same. So some people might not get the blue Tokyo Tower on the front at all. Some might get kind of loads. It's kind of look of the drawer, but most years these are very pretty designs. Beyond that, I think there's a leather version that came out this year, but that's kind of it. Your bigger choices are kind of how it looks rather than what's inside. In terms of actually what's inside, so we'll do a quick flick for those that kind of haven't seen you know, what the guts of these planners are. You get an overview page that looks like this, so it's very simple. Some people use this page, some people don't. You then get a, what I like to call the yearly overview page. People like to use this for kind of habit tracking or, you know, pre-planning dates, things like that. Lots of good uses. As you can see, one year I was kind of attempting to set it up as a bit of a budget planner. This was, so I think this was the year of 3 Hobonichi weeks, so you'll see as I flick through this that I didn't use a load of it. You then get monthly pages, so it starts in December and it rolls all the way around to, I think it's March. Yeah, March the following year, so good amount of space kind of down the side and the bottom, and then a decent number of lines, so if you've got a lot of plans, you won't kind of run out of space anytime soon. You then go into weekly pages, and you usually get to start in the last week of November if that's your thing. You then get a horizontal weekly layout with, bizarrely, no grid lines on the left page and grid lines on the right page, and this kind of margin that I showed you before on the notes pages. You then get these little notches here and here, so you can divide your days up into 3, which if you've seen any of my videos before on the weeks, I do that quite often. In fact, I am in my current one, and it just helps me kind of categorize my days quite well. But it annoys me that you can basically only see a grid through the previous page. There isn't a grid on this left-hand page. You then, like I say, go into notes pages, and that is basically it in terms of the weeks. So who is this planner really good for? Like I say, because of the size of it, it's great if you do want an on-the-go planner. So I have used this as a EDC, an everyday carry. It's a good size just for kind of tucking away. It, you know, it doesn't chunk up massively, particularly if you're just wanting something super functional. This works really well. Because of the notes pages that, you know, are completely blank, it's great if you want an all-in-one book where literally your whole life goes in there. It's got enough space and enough pages, particularly if you go for the mega, that you can do kind of a full year in one book. Obviously, if you are ridiculously busy or you want to use this as a work planner as well, you may find that there's just not quite enough space. But I think most people can comfortably live in this as kind of their full year-round planner. with all of the, you know, spare pages that you get at the back, kind of for filling it in with collections or, you know, whatever lists and notes that you have. What you also kind of get that I think appeals to a lot of people, and it's definitely kind of helped me over the years, is although I'm not a huge fan of this layout, it does kind of allow for some flexibility. So because you've got the 3 notches there that you could then kind of divide up the pages, you could carry that line on and make kind of a long bit for each day. You can vertical plan in it. I have done that before, where you actually switch up and put Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and so on, and then create vertical plans. There's quite a lot you can do with this planner, particularly with this kind of blank page. I've used this for bullet journaling before, so I kind of do my pre-planning here for the week and then just start bullet journaling there. It's, yeah, there's a world of possibilities with this planner. It does mean that, like, I spent quite a lot of time trying to find layouts that did work for me, because initially I'm not much of a horizontal planner, but then once I found layouts that worked, I really enjoyed using this planner, and this has probably been my main planner for the majority of this year, and the majority of last year as well. So yeah, big fan of this planner. I've had one, yeah, every year, at least one every year. Some years it's been more than one since 2018. Okay, so going on to the A6, and I would say that there's kind of 3 main versions functionality wise of the A6, and it's basically the same as the cousin, but I'm just talking A6 for now. So you have the original /A6, which is quite a chunky boy, double the size of this, and it has a page for every single day. You then have an avec version, which comes as 2 books, so you get a book for Jan to June and a book for July to December. So if you do want something that's a bit more portable, then this is the one to go for. Something to also mention with the A6, and the reason why I went for the avec, is kind of, I'll need to use the cousin to explain it, but when you're kind of a certain way through the year, you kind of get this situation where you're kind of, it's quite uneven is the book, which in a cousin I can just about get away with. It's annoying, but it's fine. But what I find is in small planners like this, I can barely write in them at the best of times with the small size. As soon as you then start adding in kind of unevenness of like a really chunky side here and then a really thin one, I just, yeah, finding things to then kind of balance to then make my hand level just gets even more difficult with the small size. That could just be a me thing, but just wanted to kind of get it out there, and that's why I've got an avec. The final version is a day free, so this doesn't have any daily pages whatsoever. So this is effectively just a really good notebook, to be honest, and that's kind of what I've used it for in the past. So I think this is me trying to use this as kind of a shop and Etsy planner. So it has the monthly pages where I can kind of do pre-planning of like videos and sales and things like that, but then it just gives me loads of freedom and loads of notes just to write whatever else I want in there. And those are the 3 versions in terms of inners. Beyond that, there's not a huge amount in terms of kind of decor or kind of, yeah, personalization. Like, well, not personalization, but you know, in the same way that the Weeks has millions of different covers that look really cool, you don't really get a huge amount with the avec. With the A6, you get a plain cover like this on the normal version, so with all the pages. The avec looks like that, and the day free looks like that. They have recently introduced in the past couple of years something called the Hom, which effectively is if a Weeks and an A6 had a baby. So it's the kind of covers, I think, can't remember how many there are, but there's basically covers that look like this, so in this kind of high-end fabric, but everything else is the same as a regular original A6. So all the daily pages, it's just in a hardcover that looks a bit prettier. There is also, I believe, a Chinese version of the A6, and there's an English version of the A6. Now, there's 2 versions now, I believe, of the A6. There is the planner and the just original A6. So the original A6 is exactly the same as the normal A6, just in English. The planner has some variations, most notably grid size. So what I have found is that some of my kits don't fit in the A6 planner, and the only reason I know this is because customers have bought them and then stuck them and gone, oh, they don't fit quite right. I'm not quite sure what the long-term plan is for the planner. I'm assuming it's still available, because obviously if there's an English, because that was the reason why people bought the planner, is it was an English version, but now there is an English version of the A6. I don't know if that's going to eventually go, but yeah, anyway, tangent. So those are the main versions of the A6. Like I say, not a lot in terms of kind of choice around covers, but that is getting better with the Hon as of this year, and it does mean you get a hardcover. So if you don't like the fact that this is just kind of a thin cardboard cover, you do now have an alternative. One thing that I do want to say, and I didn't really talk about it with the Weeks, is the Weeks have clear covers that you can put on. Some of them have got designs, some of them are plain, just to protect them. The A6 does also have those, but they require a cover first. So I don't buy any of the Hobonichi covers because I think, quite honestly, they're quite expensive for what they are. But they are kind of, you know, typical cover, got pockets in the on the inside, gives you lots of extra storage, pen loop, etc. The plastic covers called cover on cover that Hobonichi sell will only go over those covers. They will not go over these. If you want a cover for this, I will leave a link in the comments. It's the Midori one. Some of them take a little bit of work depending on which planner you've got. If you've got kind of the original, the Avec and the Day Free's fine. But yeah, those are the covers to use if you just want a simple plastic pocket that will kind of protect your planner and stop it from getting dirty, because these can, be able to see it, these can get quite tatty. I mean, they just live on my desk, but like obviously dust and whatever kind of picks up. Okay, let's actually dive into the pages now. You will see a bit of a theme with these planners because a lot of it will look the same from one planner to the next. So you get simple yearly overview page. As you can see, I've not really used it. You then go into the same other kind of yearly overview page. The great thing about this is, even though this is the Avec, you get it from the 12th of December all the way to March the following year. So if you're in April and you need to book some plans in for November, you don't then have to go to your other Avec to put those notes in, which just great attention to detail, because that would annoy me otherwise. You then go into the monthlies, and they go from 12th of, well, December rather, to July. And there's a good amount of space, very similar to the Weeks layout, spare space there, and a little bit along the bottom, good sized boxes for your plans. And then from there, you kind of get this nice kind of blank page. I like to use this, particularly my cousin, because it has the same one for goal planning. Really good to kind of set up the new year and what you want to achieve. And then you go straight into daily pages. The months always start with a blank day of the month. And I've seen lots of people use this for really cool things. Some people use it for like vision boards. I've tried to use it for goals or highlights in the past. But yeah, just a nice little touch. And then you go into these dailies. So the dailies have these kind of tasks for your top 5 of the day or whatever it might be. And then you have time down the left hand side for goal blocking, and it is literally 24 hours. So if you work nights or anything like that, you don't need to worry. You can plan kind of normally. Then there's a faint line there to basically kind of break up between kind of plans and then notes, so you've got lots of space for bullet journaling or just general journaling or any kind of notes. And then a little bit of free space here that I do notice a lot of people use for kind of meals. They'll do like their breakfast, lunch, dinner, because it's 3 lines worth. I quite like that. Yeah, and that goes all the way up to literally the end of June, and then ends on the blank page. And then something that I didn't really talk about in the Weeks, there are always extra pages at the back of like useful pages. I never use any of these. If you do want to kind of know a bit more about them, let me know and I'll maybe like do like a shorts and show you. But they do tend to change year over year, so you're probably better off just kind of looking at the Hobonichi website for that if you want to kind of see what's in this year's extra pages. But that's it in terms of the A6. Very simple setup, kind of yearly overviews, straight into monthlies and dailies. The day free is exactly the same. You get your yearly overviews, but then you get a full year's worth of monthlies, again from December to March next year, I think it is, like with the weeks. Yep. And then you just go into all of these empty pages, which are numbered. Don't really know kind of what you would do with that numbering because there's nowhere to put an index. I guess you'd have to basically make page 1 your index, but at least there are numbered pages, so you can find, in theory, if you make an index, you can find what you need. In terms of number of pages, I think it's about 170, yeah, 170, oh no, 171, and then extra pages again. So, you know, if you don't do a lot of journaling or you don't have a huge amount of plans each day, then you would comfortably, I think, get a year out of this if you kind of push yourself, but you wouldn't be able to do kind of loads of stickers and things like that. But it could be a good option if you do like kind of having the A6 size and you don't want a weekly view and you do just want kind of freedom, or maybe you want to do bullet journaling but you don't want to draw out a calendar. Well, that's good for this because you have them pre-made. That's actually not a bad idea because I was in an A6 bullet journal for One Book July and I loved it, but I hated drawing out the calendars. Didn't even occur to me I could just get a day free. Now I'm kind of rethinking my planners for next year. Anyway, I digress. Let's move on to the cousin. Okay, let's talk cousin. Very simple with this one. I'm not going to repeat myself loads. All I'm going to say is that in terms of varieties, they come in exactly the same kind of varieties as the A6. So they come in a full version with all the pages, they come in an avec with half the year, and they come in a day free with just the monthlies and then blank pages. Again, they also come with come as the Hon range, which has the nice fabric covers. They do also now come in English. I did actually forget to mention the Weeks also comes in English now. There isn't this weird kind of planner version, it is just English or Japanese and that's it. And yeah, that's it in terms of variations, exactly the same pretty much as the A6. I am now going to crack out my 2024 version because the cousin is the planner that I've used the most over the years, so in terms of kind of giving you a good view of kind of the blank pages and talking you through that, it's definitely better to use my nice beautiful fresh one. So getting into the pages, as you can see, exactly the same as the A6. You get 3 months to a page here rather than 2, and they are a little bit narrower, but you do get this extra space at the bottom. I love this layout. It is a perfect index. So the bit that I was mentioning about the day free and the numbered pages, actually if you use the daily version, you can actually then use this as your index and go, okay, what did I write about on the 2nd of July? Oh, I can find it here. And so yeah, you get 2 pages worth of that. Then you go into your monthlies, obviously huge amount of space here, the same kind of left hand and bottom space, big boxes. If you've got a lot of plans, this is the perfect planner for you. I would say if you work from home, this is the perfect planner for you because as much as I love this planner, I have literally never taken one out of the house because it's just so big. And then from there, you go on to a wonderful vertical weekly. So you Erin Condren fans or Happy Planner fans, this is the closest planner you would get to it in kind of Hobonichi world. You get full 24-hour worth of time planning, you get a sidebar there for other information, it's grid paper, you get a bit of empty space there, good for kind of, you know, jotting down what the weather's going to be, and you've just got bags of room. I love this planner. I've been in it for all bar 1 year since 2018. Like the weeks, there's a lot of flexibility in these layouts. I highly recommend watching some of my previous videos on the cousin if you want a bit of inspiration on how to use these layouts, because although it looks at first glance like you're just kind of locked into planning your appointments, you know, but I don't have a lot of appointments, so why would I need this? Actually, the numbers, although they're there, you can ignore them, and I'm very good at noticing annoying things, but actually with this, I completely got used to having the time, and I very, very rarely use it because I don't have a lot of appointments through the day, and I don't use this for work because I work in an office. So yeah, you can kind of block it off, do categories, what I've done before previously is kind of done lines across there and then labeled what each kind of row is for. So you can have like a row for the shop, a row for meal planning, a row for life tasks, a bit for journaling. You know, there's just so much that you can do. I guess that's true of all the planners because, you know, like talking about the A6, a blank daily page can pretty much be anything. you know, again, if you don't care about the kind of numbered pages and things like that, but when it comes to kind of, you know, if you like thinking up weekly layouts and doing slightly different things, the cousin and the weeks are probably the two that are going to give you the most in terms of creative outlet from a weekly planning and trying different layouts perspective. I've done a few different layouts on my daily pages over the years, but I didn't feel like there was a huge amount, not in comparison to weekly pages anyway. So you get you get weekly pages that start, this one starts on the 1st of January because 2024 starts on a Monday, which is so pleasing. And then you go into, so because 2024 kind of starts on a Wednesday, you do get a few days the next year. You get the same blank spread that you do in the A6, and you get the same kind of first day of the month page, and then straight into dailies. So the format of this, as you can see, is exactly the same as the A6. Straight into the dailies, and you have a whole year's worth, and then you kind of have the extra pages at the end, and a few kind of, I think this one's got like one blank page at the end. And yeah, so page a day for the rest of the year to do with as you want. This is another great planner if you want everything in one book, if you are a weekly planner, if you have lots of plans, if you don't plan on, you know, needing to carry it around. I mean, you can, like, people do take A5 planners out, it's not my thing, and particularly because, you know, there are other sizes available on the Hobonichi. There are things you can take if you don't, you know, it doesn't have to be this size. Yeah, it's a wonderful planner. There's so much kind of flexibility to it. You can be super creative in these pages, you can be super creative with the layouts. You don't have to use this for planning, so if you haven't seen last week's video, I show you how to basically use all of the Hobonichis in different ways that aren't planning, and the cousin, because of the size and how many pages it's got, just give you so much flexibility with it. It's got nice muted colour schemes. That's something that I haven't really talked about because I've kind of assumed going into this video that you know kind of a decent amount about Hobonichi. So, you know, the colour schemes are lovely and muted, they're not in your face. There are people out there that have worked out what kind of Tombow markers each colour of the month is close to if you want to kind of theme it up. The paper is obviously Tomorrow River paper, works beautifully with fountain pen, watercolours, loads of ghosting, but absolutely no bleeding. It does take a little bit of time to get used to because it is only 52 GSM, so if you are heavy-handed like I am, you will find initially that you will kind of have some bent pages and stuff, and the first time you kind of like bend a corner, you'll be horrified with yourself if you're anything like me. But yeah, I've assumed that kind of at least those kind of bits you do already know. Obviously, if you do want a video kind of intro to Hobonichi and all things to do with it, let me know. I'll be more than happy to film that. In fact, I'd really enjoy filming that. But yeah, that's the differences in the actual planners and the sizes and everything that's kind of inside. I hope that's been useful. I hope that's been helpful. If you do have any burning questions that I haven't answered, please let me know in the comments. If there is anything that I have forgotten in terms of to talk about, I'll add, you know, my own comment and pin it with, oh, by the way, and another thing, but hopefully I've kind of captured everything. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.